beautiful to see people coming up to you and thanking you for what you've done for motorsport, what you've done for motorsport in South Australia. There's a gentleman there in the second row that was very passionately telling you that he was very, very grateful for everything that you've done and your career. That's fantastic to hear, isn't it, when you sort of come to an event like this and people are just so pleased to see you?
Yeah, so I'm always amazed that people carry these photographs around it. I don't know for how long, but I often used to ask, especially at Goodwood, and there were big lines there waiting for all the drivers to come out of the drivers' hospitality area. And it's just astonishing to me that they all turn up and they wait, and sometimes they have to come back the second day because the drivers don't always get through them, or they get tired of signing and basically walk off. So, yeah, I really appreciate the fact that some of those photographs bring back some great memories to me as well.
And talking about bringing back great memories, this iconic car next to us, absolutely stunning. It is, of course, the McLaren M24B, fondly known as the Old Hound. So you haven't been out on track this weekend in this beauty, but talk to us about this car and why it is special to you.
Sure. So I drove a McLaren I was supposed to drive this car in 1980 at the Indy 500, and it was a lot of the teams had a spare car. They called it the backup car, and something went wrong with their number one car, or perhaps didn't get into the race. They had a spare car. And in this occasion, Tom Sneaver had qualified a new ground effect car, and so they put me into his spare car. I couldn't believe how well it handled it. Not being a ground effect car, I'd never been able to go around flat foot all the way, which I could do with this car. And I thought if I'd qualified it used to be over 2 weekends qualifying, and all the cars that qualified on Saturday started ahead of the cars that qualified on Sunday, and then the next weekend. So it was a very funny system there. And when I had to pass the car back to Tom, the lap time I'd actually done in practice would have put me on the second row of the grid. Tom took over that car, started from last place and finished second. And the car got the name Old Hound because when the mechanics were back in the garage celebrating, one of them had a can of beer and he tipped it down the trumpet of the engine. And they just said, "You done good, Old Hound," and that name has stuck to that car ever since.
It's a very well-earned drink that car got then, from 33rd to second. That is no mean feat in an Indy 500.
No, at the time it was the only time that had ever been done.
Yes, it's just incredible. Talk us through that. That's monumental. Talk us through how that even happened for you both.
You know, if you're in a really good car, you can do things that I won't say come easy, but there's a big difference in, let's say, this McLaren and another McLaren, which purportedly is identical, but they never are. There's something different about the handling. And after I'd practiced this car with a time that would have put me on second on the grid, I decided to buy a McLaren. I bought a 4-year-old McLaren. It was the last one the factory had. It was sitting back in Detroit. So I bought that car and entered it in the 1981 Indy 500 and managed to finish second behind Bobby Unser and Mario Andretti, which I suppose that's another one of the pretty memorable moments in my career, because the IndyCar drivers were a different breed to what we have today. You could go along to any one of them. Johnny Rutherford, Andretti, asked some advice. and they were always honest about things. The first time I drove on a very high banked oval, the force of the G-force was pushing my helmet down over my eyes. And I came and I said to Rutherford, I said, "What do you do about that?" I said, "I can't see where I'm going." And he said, "Oh, that's easy. He got a mechanic's square piece of cloth, he rolled it up, he got some tank tape, taped it inside the helmet just on your, so the helmet's resting on your chin." And he said, "There, that should fix you up." And it was just things like that going there for the first time. Drivers would often come along to see how you're going, if you wanted a bit of help or advice or anything. It was just one big club, really. So that was one of my best memories of driving Indy cars.
Were they like that with you after you drove from last on the grid to second? Were they just as helpful after that happened, Vern? Or they not giving you any tips or tricks after that?
Oh, no.
Because they knew you didn't need them.
No, so that was Tom was actually driving the car when he brought it through to second.
Yeah.
So I had my third. In fact, the year I was third, there was a dispute between whether Bobby Unser had won it or Andretti, and it was because in those days, when the yellow flag came out, they'd put out a pace car. All the cars would obviously have to line up behind as they do today, but Bobby, he rushed down the pit lane, and there was no speed limit in those days, so he overtook all the cars in the pit lane and came out and put himself in the middle of the field. And there was a dispute over that went on for several months, and it said in the paper at the time, it could well be that they give this race to the Australian Vern Schuppan. So that was not what I expected, but I just got some great memories from those Indy 500 days.
Well, let's talk about the restoration of this car. So Mark Rundle's team, BRM, it's a meticulous restoration taking over 12 months. What was some of the biggest challenges to restore it to this glory that we see here?
Sure, so a car so old and had been pulled apart, we had a barrel of 44-gram drip barrel of parts. There are a lot of parts missing. Damien, who restored it for BRM, I don't know how he did it, but he found every single bit that you would say, well, where on the earth would you get that little ring that holds the mesh over the turbocharger from? He tracked everything down over time so that we've got all original parts, and you can see the beautiful job that's been done on the tub itself, right down to the final painting. All the stickers are exactly as they were when that car ran. So I must say that it's the car I'm certainly most in love with and most proud of.
Yeah. And when you're sitting here looking at it now, I know you haven't taken it out on a track as yet, but yeah, it obviously completely compares to the car that you remember back then, and it brings back so many memories, nostalgia. That's what we really love about the Adelaide Motorsport Festival, is that we get to reconnect with things from machines, from all different parts of our lives that we remember in so many fond ways. So this car, is that the ultimate for you with this car?
Yeah, I think so. It's the car that I've owned several of the cars that I raced. My Le Mans winning Porsche and various other cars, but this one is the most special, I think. And just seeing it transformed from where it was, a smashed up wreck, lots of the parts that couldn't be bought anymore, and Damien sourced them in America from all over the place. And its amazing thing was that he'd contact people in America, and they are still passionate about their Indy cars, and they really bent over backwards to be able to provide all the various bits that were missing. So she still pretty much back to completely original, but I'd say better than it ever was car.
So much love and passion in this car.
Yeah.
So is the intent obviously to take her back out on track at some point?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. We're just a matter of when. I didn't want to go out today and Damien, having not started the engine yet, make fools of ourselves. Or go out there and maybe something goes wrong on the first lap. We've got to take the time to do a proper day's testing at maybe Malala or one of the other circuits up at the Bend, and just put some miles on it, and that's it really.
We're looking forward to that, aren't we? Seeing this beauty out on track, and hopefully maybe next year at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival, I'll have a chat to Damo. Damo, maybe next year, bring her back? Yeah, Damo says yes. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Damo. She'll look exactly like this. If you need me to do some cloth work on it, I'm happy to do that if we can make that happen. Oh yeah, I'll give you a call. All right, perfect. I don't offer that to everyone's cars, by the way. Don't leave them in the car park thinking I'm going to wash them. That's not happening. All right, only special McLaren Indy cars. But let's talk about your varied career, Vern, because of course you talk about your days in IndyCar very fondly, and of course the fantastic results, but of course in Formula One as well. So for you, those two disciplines, even though it's open wheelers, they're very vastly different, aren't they? So talk us through the big differences for you.
Yeah, I think, especially back in those days, IndyCar drivers would still do some sports car racing, which is not the case today. You drive Formula One cars, and it's very rare to see any of the F1 drivers go off and do other types of racing. Mostly, it's written into their contract that they can't go. Well, I know the contract I had with the not this BRM, but I was driving for BRM, and that contract stated that we couldn't water ski, we couldn't snow ski. They gave a list of things that we were just not allowed to do in case we, damaged ourselves. So that was quite stringent, and I guess a bit careful today as well as to who they let go off and do testing in other cars and for other teams,
Yeah. We were just saying before, I got to interview Valtteri last year, of course, when he was still a full-time driver, and then just got to see him just before, and he is a very relaxed man. And it must be, we're all guessing, because he is a reserve driver. And the fact that he was able to openly talk about a Cadillac and potentially driving a Cadillac. 2024 Valtteri Bottas would have never said that.
No,
but now 2025 Valtteri would be like, sure, I'll drive anything. But they do. There are restrictions on what you can and can't do, even outside of the cars.
Sure, he's a great goal, Valtteri.
Yeah.
As a guy and as a driver, I think somewhat underrated perhaps, but pop him in the same car with Hamilton, and he was right there in the day.
And what do you think of the current crop of Formula One drivers and IndyCar drivers? Is there anyone that you particularly watch with interest?
Oh, sure I do.
Yeah.
I'm not, I watch all the Formula One races. I love MotoGP, the Velo 500, Bathurst. That's perhaps the extent of my race car watching.
That's a fair amount, Vern.
Yeah. We've got plenty of it. We're lucky enough to have all those races to watch.
And many might not know that you of course drove at Bathurst with Alan Moffat. So what was that experience like, driving with Moff?
Yeah, I know. I was having a very good career in Europe. I won the Formula 5000 Championship, some other races, and then out of the blue I got this call from Alan asking if I'd like to share his car at Bathurst. And again, I'd never been to Bathurst, but it's something I'm sure every Australian driver wants to do, and to be able to do it in a very good car like Alan's car, that was brilliant. The only thing was that the mechanics said to me, now, if you go too fast, if you go faster than Moffat, he'll pull you in, which that actually happened. And And they said, and the other thing is, just make sure you're not driving if the car breaks down. So that was the case too. We had a 2-lap lead at the time, and Moff was behind the wheel, and I think it was a harmonic balancer or something like that. That's something silly that broke, but obviously I never got into trouble for doing it myself.
So the two things you weren't allowed to do, Vern, is be faster than Moff and break the car. And did you just say that you did both those things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Well, he broke.
Race car driver.
Oh, well, he was driving when it broke.
Yeah.
Potentially, if I was driving, it might have been my fault.
Yes. Well, I'm sure even if you weren't driving, Moff would be like, that wasn't me.
But he was so professional.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, I drove Dick Johnson's car the next year, and I couldn't believe how much better Moff's car was.
Oh, wow.
And I asked Dick about it. I said, you couldn't change gears properly, the brakes were terrible. And Dick said, well, and he was sponsored by Brian Burt. He said, Brian won't let us cheat. so insinuating that Moff was getting away with some, which I don't think, that's not true, because he was just the master of car preparation.
Yes.
And the preparation he put into, it was after Moff worked in America at NASCAR that he learned some things about dipping the body shells so that they took some weight out of the body shell, welding all the joints and things which are normally spot welded. So he learned how to make a very, very stiff body, which is really the key to a good handling car. And Dick's car wasn't like that. Yeah. It was a bit of a handful. Dick could drive it, but I was struggling.
Oh. Well, let's talk about the 24 Hours of Le Mans, because obviously you won in 1983 after 2 second-place finishes. What did it take to get that victory?
What, 1982?
I've got 83 on my list.
83 is the year we won.
Yes. So you had the 2 second places and then the victory. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Look, it's all about going fast enough that you're not going to damage anything. Maybe because they had fuel in those days. They had the fuel restrictions, so you only had a certain amount of fuel for the race, and you couldn't go as fast as the car would go in order to conserve that fuel. So that year when I drove it with Hurley Haywood and Al Holbert, I thought that we disregard that rule of Mr. Singer's and just drive as fast as we can, because I said there's always something that goes wrong whereby we could lose at least a couple of laps, and that's exactly what happened. We built up a cushion, then the door came off the car, flew off on the Mulsanne Straight, and if they hadn't had the time to sort of get another door and be ready, to put that straight on the car, we wouldn't have finished that race.
Because it's such a physical and mental challenge,
Sure.
Did you put extra preparation into yourself, or...?
Not really.
No.
A lot of the drivers, some of the drivers didn't train at all in those days.
Yeah.
John Watson was one. He said he didn't go running. I went for a run. We were in Sweden at the Swedish Grand Prix. And I thought I'll go for a jog, and Waddy just said, "Well, watch it. Why are you doing that?" I said, "Well, I kind of need to," but it wasn't like the fitness they have today.
Yeah.
And a lot of the drivers really were. By the time you did practice, say on Thursday, practice Friday, qualifying Saturday, I thought, well, that's enough exercise for me. I didn't need to do anything else.
Yeah, you do all your exercise inside the car.
That's right, yeah.
So you've obviously had an illustrious career. Is there any moments that really stand out for you and your most fondest memories?
Oh, I suppose getting a drive at Indy with Dan Gurney, who Dan himself was one of the most famous drivers in America, best known, and most times he ran 2 cars in the 500. And on this occasion, Dan just came to me. He said, "Look, if we get but it was Bobby, the answer was in the other car. If we get Bobby into the race," he said, we'll put you in the other car." So I had a problem in the race. I had a puncture. Normally you try and stop for fuel or anything under the yellow flag and not lose any time. But I had a puncture under the green. I came in. They said they couldn't find anything wrong. Went back out again. Came back in, and they found that one of the tyres was going down. And I think that put me from get a winning Rookie of the Year, because also there's a number of rookie drivers every year.
Yeah.
And there's a test which the rookies have to do. They're driven around the circuit by one of the top drivers, and you have to just drive one half of the circuit and average 150 mile an hour, and then they move you to a bit more further over. So you had to do this rookie test and get yourself up to a certain speed before they'd actually let you race the car, even if you'd been racing other types of cars. So getting through the rookie test was pretty good. Anyway, it turned out that I got the highest rookie placing in the race, so I won the Rookie of the Year trophy, which is kind of a big deal as well. It was to me, with my name on the big cup in the museum and so on.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for not only sharing the Old Hound with us once more. We do hope to see you back, of course, next year. I'll have a chat with Damo and make sure we can get her out on track, which would be wonderful. But thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Please put your hands together for Vern Schuppan.
Thank you very much.